Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Howdy, y'all. I am Adam, the Renaissance Nerd, and here we are. As promised, a little late, I know, but as promised, my next installment of my Star Wars Expanded Universe book club, informal book club. It's getting to be a real thing here. I'm going to call it the book club. We're going to call it the book club from now on. My Star Wars Expanded Universe book club. Still informal, but maybe not so informal. We'll talk about that later. Here we are. Next book, Tatooine Ghost by Troy Denning, one of the top 3 Star Wars authors, in my opinion. Top 3. Timothy Zahn retains number 1 because he is the man that started the EU. He is the man that truly got it going. This story, what do I think about it? I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's a nice, tight, little adventure with Han and Leia. It's a nice, tight little adventure with Han and Leia. Not too deep, but a nice little closeout to Leia's personal growth arc that started in Truce at Baccarat. We'll get to that in a minute. So, Tatooine Ghost. What is going on in Tatooine Ghost? Tatooine Ghost begins before this story actually starts. Once upon a time, in this galaxy far, far away, there existed the planet Alderaan, on which Leia's adopted family lived. She had a painting that existed in her palace called Killik Twilight. She loved that painting, but she used that painting at the birth of the rebellion to hide a secret code for a rebellion spy network called Shadowcast. That code, unbreakable. The Imperials never broke it, never even knew it existed. When Alderaan was destroyed, they believed Killik Twilight was destroyed with it. But lo and behold, all these years later, Killik Twilight surfaces and is put up for auction. Leia, the New Republic provisional government, fears that if the Imperials get a hold of Killik Twilight, they will find the chip that contains the codes to Shadowcast. So, Leia is dispatched to Tatooine. Newly married Leia Organa Solo brings along her husband and Chewbacca and C-3PO. On this adventure, they arrive at Tatooine in the Millennium Falcon. As they arrive, Leia suffers a Force vision of Vader. Here's a word over and over again. Mine. Let's make sure I hear it is the right word. It's kind of a prelude. It's not so much a prologue, but a prelude. And she is hearing the word mine. She doesn't understand the meaning of it. She does not understand the meaning of hearing the word mine all over again. And eventually Vader's face gets replaced by Luke, and it strikes fear in her. She snaps out of it as they are arriving over Tatooine. And what do they discover in Tatooine? An Imperial Star Destroyer is in orbit. But not just any Imperial Star Destroyer. The Chimera. If you know what is coming, you know the significance of the Chimera. Commanded by one Captain Pelion. Oh boy. This book is littered with all kinds of Easter eggs. Since we're reading them in chronological order, it's showing you, oh boy. So anyway, they agree to buy the Imperials. Under attack immediately. They try to do a little smuggler stuff, and none of it's working because these Imperials are serious. They are really surprised at how serious they are, how well functioning they are. This is not warlord Imperials. These are serious Imperials. I said it again because I mean it. You're going to see why when we get into it. If you know what the Chimera is, you already know why they're so serious. Eventually, Falcon gets away, hides itself on Tatooine. They head into Mos Espa. We're going to Mos Espa. Where is Mos Espa? Mos Espa is where we went in the prequels in Phantom Menace. Oh, you see where we're going here. You can tell by the cover here some of the things we may be touching on in this book. Disguised as a Twi'lek and a Devaronian, Han and Leia infiltrate the auction. Well, the Imperials are there. They meet 3 squibs, Sly, Grease, and Amala. They get involved. They're a part of this story all the way through. Squibs, I believe they're the rodent-like race. These particular 3 squibs are really all they care about is making money. What's good for them anyway. They also meet Kitster Banai. Anakin Skywalker's best friend from when he was a slave 40 years ago. Oh, yes. We are going to get a lot of prequel love. There is a lot of prequel love in this book. There is. This book is filled with prequel Easter eggs. It's nice. It's nice. I'm going to tell you now, it's nice. So, Imperials are there. Everybody's bidding. Han and Leia use the squibs as go-betweens so that they don't attract too much attention to themselves because they realize that people are going to notice, and that's why they're in disguise. As you can expect, everything goes to hell when the Imperials do not like that they've been outbid. Well, we're starting to hear that their admiral wants this piece of art. Again, if you know what's coming, get it. You understand the significance of that. Anyway, chaos breaks out. Han and Leia try to destroy the Killik Twilight before the Imperials get their hand up, but then Kitster Banai steals it, runs away with it. And then the chase is on. Kitster Banai is being hunted by everybody, including Han and Leia. We meet a lot of nice, interesting characters. We touch on a lot of characters who got a little bit of screen time in Phantom Menace. We learn a lot about the history of what went on after Anakin left Tatooine. And most importantly, we're not going to go into a lot of details about the chase because the chase, it's kind of secondary. It's, to my opinion, the most important thing in this book is Leia's self-discovery, Leia's arc, the conclusion of Leia's arc concerning her heritage. Because we learn right away that as soon as on page 35 in my copy, it's a hardcover, I should start remembering that when I say a page number, depending on if you're listening to it or you have a paper copy or a digital copy, it might not be the same page, but page 35 in mine, Anakin first comes into play, actually, and we're not talking about her Force vision of a Vader turning to Luke. Kitster Banai is at this auction to sell a holocube of the day when Anakin won the pod race that freed him from slavery in Phantom Menace. And Leia sees it and doesn't realize at first that that's her father. But then as soon as she hears it, she becomes very angry and is agitated for a good part of this book until much later, and we're going to get to that in a second, but she's agitated, and we realize that since Truce at Baccarat, even after seeing Force Ghost Anakin, even after going through the events of Heart of the Jedi, and then Courtship of Princess Leia, she has not yet. Was there another one? Yeah, Shadow of the Empire. Remember, we even go. No, she didn't know yet. Shadow of the Empire. Sorry, she didn't know yet. We've been seeing her character arc of personal thinking. I hate my heritage. At this point, everybody knows. At this point where we are, everybody knows she's a Skywalker, and everybody knows that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker. Up until a couple books ago, that wasn't public knowledge, but now it is. As of this book in the timeline, it is now public knowledge that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, and Leia is Luke's sister. She is a Skywalker. So that is common knowledge at this point. So she is dealing with that still. She hates her heritage. We learn on page 47 that at this point, Han wants kids. Leia does not. She is afraid of passing on what she deems at this point tainted genes, tainted dark side genes. She's afraid of it. She doesn't want kids. And that's a big sticking point this early in their marriage at this point. I mean, they have only a couple of light arguments in this, but it's a sticking point. And we learn at the very end, it's a very poignant moment. The last 2 pages, when we'll come back to the why Han wants children. And then you see the end, Leia's finally come around, but it takes the journey of the book to get there because she's angry, she's fearful. And the chase of Killik Twilight, which you can see the parallels where she's chasing after a piece of her past to protect the present, but at the same time, chasing a piece of her past is unraveling the rest of her past that she didn't know about. Why do I say that? About halfway through the book, oh, no, I'm sorry. No, yeah, no, we're not halfway there. Halfway through the book, They arrive at what was once the Lars homestead. It was once the Lars homestead, now owned by the Darklighters. Biggs Darklighter from episode 4, Luke's best friend on Tatooine. Now his younger brother Gavin Darklighter, if you read the X-Wing Squadron books, and also Gavin Darklighter, who is the lead of Rogue Squadron after Wedge Antilles took over other military duties, and as he rose in the ranks, eventually Wedge does become an admiral. Gavin Darklighter, his parents, the Darklighters, they owned the Lars homestead. So at one point, Leia arrives at the Lars homestead. Han has been chasing after the Killik Twilight, chasing after Jawas and a Sandcrawler who have Kitster Banai. He's evading Imperials. He's on the super fast swoop bike. He's gotten caught in a major epic sandstorm. And Leia and Chewie were supposed to meet him at Anchorhead, but they didn't. But they end up on their way to Anchorhead, but they stop at the now Darklighter farm. And while they're there, Leia is given a data pad that Gavin's mother, I think it was Jilla, Jilla, given a data pad she found that her daughter found. And it turns out to be a diary of Shmi Skywalker that she started keeping the day after Anakin left to become what he became after the pod race. And Leia then spends as we go through our adventure, Leia begins to watch this diary, understanding that this is her grandmother, her paternal grandmother. And she begins to see Anakin through the eyes of Shmi. And bit by bit, it chips away. And mind you, when she's given the data pad, given the diary, she learns right away Shmi's fate, that she was kidnapped by the Tusken Raiders and Anakin showed up and saved her and this and that. She knows the fate. So knowing the fate of her grandmother, she begins reading watching this diary. And as I said, it chips away at her hatred. But she begins to understand that Anakin didn't start out as Darth Vader. That it was a path and choices he made. And that the Force may have had a hand in all this. That's part of the other thing. Throughout this book, Leia is constantly beginning to realize that she can no longer deny her Force sensitivity, her connection to the Force. Because when she calls Luke at one point to try and alert Mon Mothma that they are still trying to get Shadowcast, trying to get Killik Twilight, and that she needs more time and this and that, Luke realizes, you called me to talk about something else. She tells him what's going on, and Luke imparts to her that the Force is guiding you. Don't fight it. Let it happen. It won't steer you wrong. You gotta give in. You gotta submit to the Force. And Leia does. She does. She allows the Force to guide her. Her instincts, her Force intuitions throughout this book save her little group over and over again. And I keep talking about Leia because Leia is 90% of the perspective in this book. We get maybe 4 or 5 chapters with Han, a couple moments behind Chewie's eyes, but that's about it. Everything, this book is really behind Leia's eyes. We're in Leia's head 90% of this book. So without spoiling too much, there comes a moment, it was on page 300, where they're getting close. They realize Kitster Banai, at this point, he's been kidnapped by Tusken Raiders. The Imperials are all over the place. They are scouring the planet. They're hunting him. Han and Leia and Chewie and 3PO and the Squibs are a part of the Oskagian caravan, these desert people that have transplanted from their own world to just basically live off the grid on Tatooine. They're moving along with them, but at one point, Leia is learning. They intercept a Jawa. The Jawas who had been taking Kitster Banai to Anchorhead were attacked by Imperials and then attacked by Tusken Raiders. And Kitster Banai got kidnapped by the Tusken Raiders, but one Jawa survived. She says the Tusken Raiders are taking him to the Ghost Village. And right away on page 300, I hadn't finished yet. We hadn't gotten there. I knew right away that the Ghost Village, where it described where Suddenly, an entire Sand People clan had been wiped out overnight, hacked and slashed. Gee, what do you think it was? Right away, I'm like, that was Anakin. That was Anakin's slaughter after he found Shmi. That was the slaughter site in episode 2. Right away, and of course, it is confirmed later on because when they arrive there, Leia has a forced premonition, realizes this is where Shmi died. This is where Anakin chose completely veered in the wrong direction, where he made his first tremendously horrific dark act to slaughter all the Tusken Raiders in that village. And Leia's moment right there of, and I hope you guys don't hear that truck. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm sorry. The window's open. What happened was Leia get there and she goes, I can feel it. I can see it. This is where she died. And he came here and Anakin killed them all. But it wasn't right. It just wasn't right. He should have known better. He was a Jedi. But even with that, that's when we kind of get to the end of it. A short time later, really? Landscaping. I'm sorry. I have no control over that. It's a beautiful day. I have the window open. Where was I? That leads to the final realization of, it was the final piece together because Leia has a conversation with Kitster right before she throws him at a escape pod as they're escaping Tatooine. Let's see if I have it. I didn't mark the page. Here it is. She's talking to Kitster, and this is Leia speaking. This is Leia speaking. Had hint in the Force, but how do you know what happened there? Talking about the slaughter site. This is page 398 in my book. The Tuskens had a storied dance that night when we arrived, Kitster explained. I already knew that Anakin had returned with Shmi's body, so when they dropped into sword stances and started to leap around, making buzzing sounds, it was obvious whom they were imitating. Kitster fell silent for a moment, studying Leia, and then added, and there's something you should know about what he did there. If you're going to try and justify it, I couldn't possibly, Kitster said. Your father was a Jedi. What he did was wrong. Quite possibly it set him on the dark road he took later in life. And even he was sorry for his mistake. He was? Leia furrowed her brow. How would you know that? He said as much, I think. Kitster buckled his crash webbing, then stared at the floor as he continued. When I heard that he had been asking about his mother at Watto's, I went out to the Lars farm to visit him. I didn't know Shmi had been taken, of course, but I happened to arrive shortly after they had buried her and Anakin had left. Beru, she was Owen's. I know who Beru was, Leia said, and we don't have much time before I must close the hatch. Kitster nodded. Of course. Beru told me that when they buried Shmi, Anakin spoke to her grave, saying he had not been strong enough to save her, but promising he would not fail again. Fail again? Leia asked. But his mother was already dead. How was he going to undo that? Kitster nodded. That struck me as odd too, and I asked Beru about it. She told me that he had said twice that he was not strong enough. Once that he was not strong enough to save his mother, and a second time, just that he was not strong enough. I thought at the time he had said what he had said. At the time that he had just repeated himself, but now I'm not so sure. After being at the Oasis, I think maybe Anakin realized what a terrible mistake he had made. I think he knew how he had failed as a Jedi. Maybe, Leia said. It would be nice to believe that. I'd like to. Then you can, Kitster said. The boy I knew would have been sorry for what he had done, and even 10 years away would not have changed that. He was still his mother's son. And then they hit the button. He gets shot back down to Tatooine. So right there, you see that right there, that moment. That is the final end of Leia's journey. She has watched Anakin through Shmi's eyes, a boy who she devoted everything to, who she loved unconditionally and wanted nothing but to have his freedom, his destiny. And even though it pained her not to see him, she made this journal every day with the hopes that he would see it and know that he was loved and that she was proud of him, and that his own legacy had affected so many others on Tatooine who sought their dreams. And it finally, this watching Shmi's diary, hearing the stories, learning this moment, Leia understands. I think at last, she finally understands that there is Anakin Skywalker and there was Darth Vader. They were two separate individuals. And she first time is able to understand what Luke saw, that the good was still in there, that there was a good side to Darth Vader, and that was Anakin Skywalker. And that it was Anakin Skywalker who saved the galaxy by throwing Palpatine into the Death Star reactor. It was Anakin Skywalker who felt guilt over the slaughter of the Tusken Raiders. So right there, she finally understands it, and she has made peace with it. So Leia's arc over the past 1, 2, 3, 4 books, if we count Heart of the Jedi, which is now part of the whole early cycle here, a 4-arc book where Leia has been fighting her heritage comes to an end. And that's the importance of this book, because now at the very end here, as I mentioned earlier, as they're escaping the Chimera, the Death's Head, and the Judicator, as they're escaping Tatooine, Leia is pressing Han why he wants children so badly. All right, this is Han speaking. If it has to be now, Han brought their nose around the Falcon, pointing them into deep space. The Falcon continued to slip farther towards the two suns, sideways. I guess it's just my way of facing the future. Facing the future, Leia asked. You know. Han forced the throttles past the overload stops. The Falcon shuddered, seemed to hesitate, and finally pulled free of the gravity well. He exhaled in relief and activated the hyperdrive, believing in it. Good answer. Leia leaned closer and, as the stars stretched into the iridescent blur of hyperspace, gently kissed Han on the neck. I believe in it too. That's why Han wants children, because he believes it will create the future and help him believe in the better future. And up until that point, Leia couldn't see that, but now she can. And we know, about a year later, when we begin, a year later, when we begin the next book, Leia is very pregnant with the twins, Jason and Jaina. So that's that to me. This is an important book, and it's a fun book. Let's just say it's a fun book because the race to get killed Twilight is fun. It's pure fun. It's a lot of fun. It has a lot of great moments, a lot of great Star Wars humor, a lot of great Star Wars moments, a lot of great Han and Leia moments. Really, their interaction throughout this book is great. But also, this book, as I said, it's filled with prequel Easter eggs. But at the same time, if you're reading this in chronological order, Troy Denning is planting the Easter eggs for what's coming next. We know, and a spoiler alert, we know who is on the Chimera. On page 103, we hear stormtroopers that are awed by their new admiral. They are awed by him. And who is it? It's Thrawn. Thrawn is in this book. He is the specter in this book. He is hovering over this whole thing. He loves the art. He wants the art. He sees the destruction of the art, the attempted destruction of the art. He knows there's something more to just its beauty, that's got a secret. He wants it. He knows it. Throughout this book, he's like, do not kill the Solos. Bring them to me alive unless they leave you no choice. Over and over again. At one point, when they're escaping an inn in Anchorhead, where Beru, Lars' sister, is sheltering them, Stormtrooper with hand. At one point, the Stormtrooper commander, the sole Stormtrooper commander, the lieutenant who survives Han and Leia's ambush, they knock his helmet off. We think Chewie rips his head off for a second, but he only got the helmet. For a second, Han sees a pair of glowing red eyes and blue skin. Now, it's not specifically said, but was that Thrawn on the ground? That could have been Thrawn on the ground, because in the Thrawn trilogy, no other Chiss are a part of Thrawn's entourage, if I remember. We're going to find out real soon. Was that Thrawn on the ground, commanding the troops, pretending to be a stormtrooper commander? I think it was, and that just makes it so much better. So you see all the Thrawn Easter eggs, and then at one point, before they go rescue Kitster at Ghost Village, they stop at Obi-Wan's hermitage for like the 4th time in all these books. They're back at Obi-Wan's hermitage, and they go down into the basement and they find a data pad. They find a data pad that is code locked, talking about Outward Bound. What is Outward Bound? Outward Bound is the attempt to explore farther reaches of the galaxy, led by one Joros Saboeth. Timothy Zahn wrote a whole book. I never read the book. I just know the details, and how Sidious, aka Palpatine, wanted to stop it because he didn't want them to run into the Yuzhong Bong before he was ready to beat them, where he was ready to face them. And that is where Thrawn met the Empire. The Chiss ascendancy met the then Old Republic burgeoning Empire, and that's how he came into the service of Darth Sidious, aka Chief Palpatine. So there's all kinds of Easter eggs for what's coming, and that's why it's just so exhilarating when you see. I was going like this, like, oh shit, yes, can't wait. I can't wait. So this book is all kinds of fun if you love this stuff. A great high octane adventure, but it's not of super galactic importance. It's a small issue of trying to save a spy network, trying to save people, and an issue of a story of self-discovery. And it's a nice contained, takes place over like 3 or 4 days. It's not wide ranging, but it's great, and it shows that great real Star Wars, true small self-contained stories do exist in the EU, and they are done well, and they show homage and respect to the source material. I always say that. So. What? Yahoo! Anyway, all right, we are done. I recommend reading this. If you didn't, go ahead and read it. You'll have a good time. Now, if you've been looking over my shoulder, you'll notice the space on the bookshelf is missing something, because we are now... this is where the fun begins. This is where the fun begins. This is what I know many of you have been waiting for as we started this journey together, because now the adventure really begins. Book 1 of the Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire. That is our next book. We are beginning the Thrawn trilogy. Oh, I'm excited. I haven't read this in a long time. I'm very excited. This is my 20th anniversary copy that I picked up because it was less expensive than the first edition hardcover I got. And of course, as I said, this edition is cool because it's got Zahn's annotations, what he was thinking when he was writing the stuff. So that's going to be interesting to check out as I go along. Oh, I'm excited. Let's see. It is now September 30th. I'm going to make an actual announcement video next week, October 4th. I'll make that announcement then. And this is Heir to the Empire. This is easy to get your hands on. The week of October the 18th will be my review, my discussion. Now, going forward, as I said in a video unrelated to this, I am not going to be live streaming my discussions of these as of right now. I'm going to continue to make these solo videos about each book because I feel it's better for me to express it that way. But what I am thinking is, when we complete each arc, like when we complete the New Republic arc that ends with the Thrawn duology at the end, Spectre of the Past, maybe if enough of you have been joining, enough people are wanting to, those who've been really following me along, really rereading with me, maybe we can sit down, have a nice live stream roundtable, discussing this first arc of the EU. What do you guys think? If you guys are interested in that and you keep reading, let me know. And you let me know now, and I'll know that you are interested when we get there to sitting down and discussing this first arc, all its strengths, all its weaknesses, and the setup for what is to come. So, Heir to the Empire is our next book. I'm excited. Oh, man, it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time. I can't wait. All right, I think we're done here. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, a like would be appreciated. Check out the other videos of my book club. Catch up, read the books, start reading the books if you want to catch up. Read them at your own pace. Remember, physical, digital. Try to avoid a Legends tag if you can. It's an ugly thing. Anyway, if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Odyssey. Comment away. Share the video. I want to hear from you guys. I will see you at Heir to the Empire. Take it easy. Thanks for watching, everybody. I don't do Facebook. I will never do Twitter. If you want to reach out to me, just email me. It's purely for this channel. I will not miss your communication. Check me out at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS. Join me in conversations there, among many others. And I'm now on Odyssey @The Renaissance Nerd. Follow me there as well. Help us keep fighting to return escapism to entertainment. Thank you again for watching. See you next time.